All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Matthew Schreiner podcast. For future videos, this video is merely an experimentation. I plan on using Google Slides to make videos, and I'm recording this on my Mac, so in the future I may also add editing using iMovie. There's some things I do plan on doing in the future, but this is sort of an experimentation to start moving towards looking at different ways I could do these videos. And as it comes more into the summer, I do plan on looking more into experimenting and, testing things out with these videos as I have more time to do that. But with PowerPoint, I originally planned on recording using PowerPoint. Now I'm using Google Slides. But with PowerPoint, you can add notes into it, and you can do the same with Google Slides, and those slides allow me to script videos. But unfortunately, using PowerPoint, I was unable to add the videos I wanted to, so but just to let you know, I'm working on experimenting and doing different things with these videos. So yeah, I think Redeemed Zoomer uses Microsoft PowerPoint to do his videos. At least by the way the camera is and all that, it looks like that. And Trent Horn also used to use a screen capture card, and he would record videos and have articles playing or videos on YouTube or whatever. But I wanted to try this out, and we will see how it goes. But I wanted to include videos onto this and test it out. So the first thing I want to look at with this video is from our parochial vicar, Father Brian Geary, from Father Burke Masters' Be Formed series. Father Burke Masters is a priest here in the Diocese of Joliet, and interestingly enough, if you can kind of tell in his little icon, he was the Chicago Cubs chaplain. So let's look at Father Brian's video.
And so, to whom are these messages addressed? Well, we know that God picks some of the most unlikely people to be his messengers, people that the world considers lowly, he chooses to lift up.
So I really enjoyed Father Brian's video, and this one particular line stood out to me. It's a part of a series, and I have not watched the full series. It's a series ran by Father Burke, and he has several other guest priests talk in it. But someone posted about this particular episode on Facebook. In fact, my parish posted about it today as well, as it is the feast of Our Lady of Fatima, as I am recording this. And this line, as well as a few other things that I will speak about later on in this video, inspired me to talk about the subject of this video. It's a kind of a return of be the change, of making a difference. I will try and leave a link to Father Brian's video in the description of this video. It is a nice look at Our Lady of Fatima, the apparitions in Spain. It's a nice look, a very nice and simple look, and an essential look at the apparitions of Fatima. So I would recommend that you check it out. But Father Brian points out that God often picks the lowly and raises them to greatness. Think of the line in the Magnificat, he lifts up the lowly. God picks those who society either looks down upon or those who are not expected. Think about Jesus, who sits with the sinners and the tax collectors and the Pharisees, those who society looks down upon. We can look at this with the most recent conclave. The cardinals, guided by the Spirit, chose Cardinal Provost, who was not really listed among any of the papabile. He was not really an expected candidate towards the papacy, although to be fair, there were many who did think of him. But when we look, Father Bride again points out that God chooses the lowly, in this case children. And this is true of many things. I like this phrase, God does not call the qualified, but qualifies the called. God chooses those who are lowly, those who are not perfect, and those who might not necessarily seem right, to fulfill what he wants. God ultimately has his plan. He chooses the right people he knows who will do his will. You might remember a while back I made a video called Be the Change. That was episode 35 of this podcast, if you were wondering. It is probably one of my favorite videos, if not my absolute favorite video of the ones I've made on this channel. It was well scripted, and I liked the message that I presented. I was considering including part of that video in this video, but I don't have one part of it that I think could fit in here. But if you want to check out this video for yourself, which I would recommend, I will try and leave a link in the description of this video on YouTube. But this video will kind of talk about that video, but will really include the same message of it. So in that same vein, I talked about in that video about how I had just finished the show Holly Hobby, and how the opening theme of that show was the inspiration for that video. In fact, there's a little Easter egg back here in the studio. If you can see, I can't really point out well because I don't know where I'm pointing because I don't have a camera view. There is back here, right next to the Jesus doll, a one of the Holly Happy Dolls, one of my mom's. It's one of the friends of Holly who's also in the show. I actually not long ago rewatched the entire series. You can find it free on BYU TV, which also has The Chosen and some other shows and movies, and it's Mormon Rand site. But I would recommend you watch the show. I think it is a really great show. But I wanted to include a clip from the opening of the show and have you hear some of the lyrics, as I think it will be important for this video.
You and me run to a different beat. We are brave, lead the way, lead the way. Be the you inside and watch the world take flight. We are brave, lead the way, lead the way. Be the change, be the change. Gotta be that change.
And so, the second to last thing I want to talk about before I get to the main point of this video, it is a video that was a part of the school assignment I had. This is a TED Talk from a teen, and so I want to share part of his video and then talk about it.
You have the power to do this too. Even if you're just a kid, you have the ability to make meaningful change in your community. I mean, think about something in your hometown right now that's always bothered you. Do the cars drive too fast? Is there too much litter? Should lightsaber dueling be a varsity sport at your high school? Yes, yes it should. But then, find a creative and interesting way to tell the story of that problem. Now, I make films, but maybe that's not your thing. You can write a poem, compose a song, take some pictures, paint your canvas. It doesn't matter how you express yourself, just that you do it with passion, and then it's in your own unique voice, in a way that only you can say it. And once you're done with your masterpiece, share it with the world. Post it online. Generate buzz over social media. Send it to your local newspaper or TV station. You have to make some noise. But, most importantly, go directly after the people that hold the power. Don't be afraid to call somebody out. Name names. Shine the spotlight on the issue and the people in charge, and I promise you, they will pay attention. Because the fact is, we're no longer living in the simple days of just sitting back and hoping that our government is going to work for us. You need to make it happen. So even if you're shy and quiet like me, find that other side of you. Be bold, be creative, be fearless. Channel your inner badass and make change.
I'd like to apologize. I can't hear any of the audio on these videos as I'm recording them, so that's why I'm trying to keep as stern of an expression as I can during that. So anyways,
You have the power to do this too.
And finally, I want to talk about Trent Horn's recent video about Christian content creation. So there's two clips from this video I wanted to share.
Last month, I spoke at the Live Action Young Leaders Summit, where we gave away 1,000 copies of my book, Persuasive Pro-Life, to equip these advocates to end the scourge of abortion. Also in attendance were a dozen Christian content creators, and I love seeing so many young people using popular media to evangelize. But something was bothering me after meeting with them. I couldn't put my finger on it. Until now. So what's the problem with Christian content creators? Well, it's not the creators, at least not these creators. I've seen a lot of their work and I'm impressed with their heart and skill. That doesn't mean I agree with everything they've ever said. It's just that I'm glad to see the overall godly orientation of their craft. Instead, what bothers me is the term content creator, and specifically being a Christian content creator. Now, once again, I'm not criticizing people who use this term. Kyle Whittington, who previously moderated our YouTube channel, hosts an excellent Catholic content creator conference at the St. Paul Center. So I understand the utility of the term content creator, and I'm not attacking anybody for using it. I just don't like the term because it sounds like an inhuman job in some science fiction dystopia. A content creator sounds like someone who mindlessly and inhumanly pumps out product to satisfy rampant consumerist demand. Ads that promise help to quickly create monetizable content make the internet feel like a place where barely nutritious digital gruel is dumped on your plate for you to eat. It feels like a lot of modern entertainment that has become this kind of slop. Or as Jay from Red Letter Media puts it,
don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
this content creation mindset isn't just a temptation for Christians who have sizable YouTube channels or Instagram accounts. It's a danger for anyone who publicly posts on social media. Anytime you or I post on X or Instagram or Facebook, we're creating content for public consumption. And social media algorithms use psychological tricks to manipulate users into creating content for companies to monetize. To see how this works, think about the difference between products and users. When you buy a book, a movie ticket, a meal, or a video game, it's easy to tell the difference between the user who buys the product and the product being consumed. But what is the product we buy on social media? The 2020 documentary The Social Dilemma says, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. The product on social media are the users. When we use social media, we become products for other people to consume, and we consume other people as products. Even if we use social media for the noble goal of sharing our faith, the faith, or at least our commentary on it, becomes a kind of product that these companies manipulate for advertisers. Now, that's not evil, because if it were, I would shut down my channel. But it does call us to vigilance, because these platforms spend millions of dollars to research how to manipulate us into working for them without us realizing it. One way they
All right, and this is the second clip.
Faith.
Finally, we should make everything we do as artists beautiful. This means surpassing objective standards for aesthetics and making the words and images that we create, even if they're a humble post on social media, make them of the highest quality. But that doesn't mean everything we make has to be sunshine and rainbows. Flannery O'Connor is one of the great modern Catholic authors, and she specialized in grim, sometimes violent stories that were still rooted in the faith without beating you over the head with the message. John Paul II says, even when they explore the darkest depths of the soul or the most unsettling aspects of evil, artists give voice in a way to the universal desire for redemption. That means it's okay, in moderation, to post about bad things in the church. Michelangelo even took artistic revenge on a papal master of ceremonies who complained about nudity in the Sistine Chapel by painting that priest in hell. But just as the Sistine Chapel has far more glory to balance out this slight, we should not disproportionately focus on the church's warts. When a person consistently posts about the bad things in the church, it's a sign that they've become a content creator, mining an addictable product, even if they don't realize it, in this case anger, and they've lost sight of the artist's duty to save the world through beauty. I'll leave you with these words from John Paul II. Beauty is a key to the mystery and a call to transcendence. It is an invitation to savor life and to dream of the future. That is why the beauty of created things can never fully satisfy. It stirs that hidden nostalgia for God, which is a lover of beauty, like St. Augustine could express in incomparable terms. Late have I loved you, beauty so old and so new, late have I loved you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a very blessed day.
As a side note, there are two clips I really like from Trent's video there. The just two clips I find really amusing. I find the clip with consume more media or whatever that was in the first half video. I find I like that clip from there. And then also I like the story about Michelangelo and the papal master of ceremonies. So you might be asking yourselves, what does all this mean? Why did I share these three videos? They might not seem connected. I would say the first three certainly share much more in common. Father Brian talks about God choosing the unlikely person to carry out his will to bring forth his message, such as the three firm children of Fatima. As I talked about with Holly Hobby in the Be the Change episode, the characters in the show often thought as in fighting for change to be made. They saw an issue and thought for change to be made. Fought for change to be made. They achieved this in many different ways, from staging protests to social media. Which brings me to the second episode of the Shy Kid from New York, as he kind of refers to himself in the beginning, who loved to make videos, and he used these videos to make change. He even inspired his brother to do the same. This video, the one with the kid, was kind of the inspiration, and on top of that, the Be the Change episode that I already made, and the video of Father Brian, and then also Trent's video gave me inspiration, which brings me back to Trent's video. Trent's video talks about Christian content creation, and I believe that it relates to this, because the advice which Trent talks about does not just pertain to apologetics like he does, or just general discussions of faith like he and I do and many others do. Rather, Trent's advice goes for all those, and I believe it relates greatly to this, because social media is the way, such as YouTube or Instagram, that people share and can be able to make a difference. Which brings me back to my episode Be the Change. We must, in the wise words of John Paul II, be not afraid. We cannot be afraid to stand up for change. We must be willing to, most especially, go out and share the Christian truth, standing up for what is right and what is good. And social media and videos can be a part of that, like Trent Horn in the TED Talk video. As I said, we must be willing to stand up for a change, to be able to find problems within our communities, and then be willing to fight for change. As I also said in regards to Laudato Si, Pope Francis's document on care for our common home, we must also be willing to fight for environmental issues as well, fighting for issues that not only involve our local communities, but our entire human community. It'll be interesting to see how Pope Leo sees issues like this. I do plan on talking about his first homily with the cardinals. I have yet to read it through fully, and hope I find something inspiring to talk about in Thursday's episode. So in conclusion, first of all, be willing to see where God is calling you. That's discernment, like I have talked about before. Above all, see the talents that God has given you. See the strengths He has given you and be willing to use them. That again is what Trent talks about in his videos, and be willing to use those gifts to build up our human community, to build up your personal community, and be willing to use them to make a change. That's it for today. God bless, and I will see you next time.